Traders, how are you? Marcello, founder of the Day Trading Academy, co-founder of Speed Up Trader. We have another exciting week of what happened in the market last week. So pretty interesting things for those of you guys that watch these videos regularly or listening on the podcast. There's quite a few things that are pretty interesting at the end for the unusual facts. Renewable energy in Germany failing, Elon Musk getting paid billions of dollars. It's huge. And Trump, just now when I'm recording this video, there was news that he's actually been acquitted of the impeachment charges as well. So I'll include all those at the end. Monday was the 6th all-time high, longest rally since August. This has to do especially with the boosted stimulus talks, in addition to the fact that the cases for the virus are now coming down. Tuesday we had slightly mixed, in addition to Wednesday and Thursday as well. This has to do with President Biden holding back a warning in regards to China, in addition to considering raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour. And then Friday we ended higher with the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ hitting record highs. And this has to do a lot because the investors are buying energy and financial shares in anticipation of more fiscal aid. The Dow went up 0.99%, the S&P 500 went up 1.23%, and the NASDAQ went up 1.72%. The MSCI Global Market Index also made a record high. It's essentially, think of it like an ETF or like a group of funds. They take various global stock markets around the world, from the US and Germany and Europe and all these places, and they put them together into one value. And that hit a record high as well. It rose 0.52%, the 9th record for 2021. European markets were mostly mixed. The FTSE in London was the biggest winner at 1.54%, while the Spain index, their stock market went down 1.98%. Latin America and Canada was mostly mixed as well, with Canada rising 2%, and then in Africa and the Middle East, Nigeria the biggest loser at 3.13%, while Saudi Arabia went up 3.78%. Asia and Australian markets are mixed for the week. China went up 4.54%, while the KOSPI in South Korea went down 0.64%. And really, really big news in the crypto space and Bitcoin. It's been reported now that Tesla made a $1.5 billion investment into Bitcoin. In addition to that, they also stated that they're going to start accepting Bitcoin as payment. And also they're saying the oldest bank in the United States, BNY Mellon, was reportedly stating that they're going to treat cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin just like any other asset. So they're going to hold them, transfer them, issue them, and they're creating a new platform that's going to be a prototype where you're going to be able to swap through different asset classes, including things like Bitcoin. So because of that, because of the Tesla news mostly, the Bitcoin surged on that news. Overall for the week, it went up 23.37% to $47,806.60. And notice, the Day Trading Academy channel that I had, for whatever reason, they banned it. They just took it down. But I would have liked to have been able to show you those videos where I talked about how I didn't expect Bitcoin to get to 50,000 all those previous years, right? We have to go back and think about when all the analysts were talking about it going to 100K and 500K when we actually had a crash. So, notice in the beginning of this year, I didn't mention about Bitcoin not going to 50K because obviously now we have a lot of buying and selling. So I continue to believe it's going to go up and down. I have no doubt it's continue to make record highs. But I think in the long term, we're going to have to see if it can survive the regulation aspect of things. Commodities, surging demand for cheaper electric vehicles in China is supercharging a major rally in the lithium carbonate. It's the first time since 2018 that it is overtaking lithium hydroxide in terms of prices. Wednesday with crude, it's the longest streak in 2 years of rises for crude. It's 9 consecutive days in the positive. This has to do with the supply curbs from OPEC, in addition to Saudi Arabia and the weaker United States dollar, as well as the U.S. inventories going down. Other than that, there's starting to be a huge demand in gold and silver. That's something that I've talked to you guys about as well. I mostly trade silver now, not only physical, but the mining companies as well. The U.S. Mint is starting to ration sales of its silver coins due to the fact that there's been a 267% increase in demand from 2020 to 2021 in January. And in addition to that, there were 4,775,000 ounces of silver American Eagle coins that were sold in January of 2021, which is a rise of 24.15%. So I think the handwriting's on the wall. If you're looking for this is just for educational purposes, right? I just want to make sure you know that. But you want to start looking for things that are going to be inflation hedges, because inflation is coming. This year it might not be real bad inflation, but as the year goes on, we're definitely going to have that. Other than that, the prices of the metals this week, gold went up by 0.50%, while silver went up by 0.77%. And then in addition to that, in finance and global banking news, governments around the world are now running huge budget deficits and piling up enormous debt associated with about 12% of GDP globally due to the fact with the coronavirus. I personally think, and this is, I'm going to put my conspiracy hat on, I think they're doing it on purpose. Right? I don't think that what happened with the coronavirus actually was on purpose. I think it was an accident that got kind of carried away. But I think now they're pushing it to the brim, because this is what I think they're going to need. They want to change the system, in my opinion, right? And we're walking towards things like what I call a government coin, digital dollars. Eventually, we'll have a central bank for the central banks, which is most likely going to be the IMF with the SDRs, as Jim Rickard states. So I think they need to destroy the system in order to actually put in the new system. And we'll see if that happens over the next few years. Probably more like 5 years, but we'll see. Other than that, the U.S. government posted a budget deficit of $163 billion in January. It's a record high for a month, and it jumped $130 billion from the same month in 2020. In Russia, they arrested 11,000 protesters in the span of 2 weeks, from protests starting from the main adversary and opposition leader to President Putin, Alexei Navalny. And in economic news, the number of Americans filing for new initial state unemployment benefits rose from the previous week. It went up by about 40,000 or so. And other than that, the ECB is stating that the 19-nation economy is most likely not going to grow as fast as they thought it was due to the situation with the coronavirus. And the UK just staved off another recession due to the fact that they actually grew in the fourth quarter. So even though they grew 1% in the fourth quarter, overall in 2020, the UK economy collapsed 9.9%. It's the worst economic collapse for them in 300 years, and now they're walking into a third strict lockdown for 2021. Corporate news, if you guys remember what happened with GameStop, that stock obviously surged quite a bit over the last few weeks. You guys obviously saw it in the news with the Redditors and the Robinhooders running up the stock. At the end, it's crashed 80% in the last week. It's down to $50 a share now from $483 on the 28th of January. And Lyft, which is a competitor to Uber, reported a $458.2 million loss. It beat estimates, however, by $8.9 million, and it says that it's going to absolutely turn a quarterly profit this year. Same thing that Uber stated, that this year they're going to create a profit, even though they lost about $514 million as well. In trade news, the U.S. is continuing to have concerns over China's predatory behavior in trade, especially when it comes to the technology. A State Department spokesperson stated on Thursday, adding that Biden is going to engage with China in the interest of the United States, and in addition to that, there's unlikely to be a dramatic change in not climate, but in the way, let's say, the USA handles things in regards to China as it was under Trump with that statement. In technology, Israeli-based Aleph Farm cultivated a ribeye steak using three-dimensional bioprinting and real cow cells. So this is the first time that they were able to create meat without actually slaughtering a live animal. And so now, because of the success, they're going to start developing other meats as well. And in another interesting thing in technology, there's an Israeli firm that actually developed a way to be able to travel around without GPS. They're saying that in the next world war, which possibly is between the US and China, or the US and Russia, that China and Russia might actually attack the satellites that provide GPS. If you guys don't know, GPS comes from a satellite, right? So if you're walking around and you don't have data service, you can turn off your phone, or if you don't have data service, the GPS will still connect to the satellite because it's via satellite. It's not with a data service. GPS stands for Global Positioning System. So they're saying that because they'll probably try to take those out in the next war, they developed a way to be able to travel and be able to have a drone travel around without the use of GPS. Europe's largest automaker, Volkswagen, is looking into flying vehicles in China. China is the largest auto market in the world, and Volkswagen is the largest automaker in the world. So they're looking at that as the next step from autonomous technology. And in investment news, it's still not clear if the vaccines is going to allow to stop travelers from spreading the coronavirus, or even if they're likely to catch it. And now there's a broad pushback of expectations of the real global recovery, at least to 2022. Notice they keep kicking the can down the road. Delta Airlines CEO Ed Bastian is saying that the Biden's administration proposal to require negative COVID tests to be able to travel domestically in the U.S. is a horrible idea. And he says it's due to the fact that due to the filtration systems and the air purification systems they have in airplanes, and the fact that there's very low number of confirmed cases transmitted through air, it's going to affect the industry more than it would actually benefit it. And the global pandemic isn't denting the value of farmland in the U.S. Corn Belt. Agricultural land rose 6% last year. It's the 5-state area of Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan, and Wisconsin. And obviously, we've had the lower interest rates as well, which has caused a boom with the mortgages. In international events, Iraq is in danger of losing an economic cohesiveness with the KRI, which is the Kurdistan Autonomous Region, semi-autonomous. Essentially now what's happening is that there's a bit of a dispute in regards to the oil money, where it's going, who should get it, and Russia now has effectively gained control of the KRI output since 2017. And despite the number of cases going down in Germany, they are going to continue with their COVID lockdown until March 14th. So they extended the quarantine in the 4th largest economy in the world, largest economy in Europe. And in unusual facts this week, Robinhood is being sued for the wrongful death of a 20-year-old college student. He committed suicide, unfortunately, after he thought that he owed $730 million in his trading account. The family is accusing Robinhood of luring inexperienced investors by taking big risk in a sophisticated financial instrument environments. Other than that, Tesla's annual filing this week is saying that Elon Musk is probably going to receive 3 additional stock option grants worth $18.6 billion. Remember that Elon Musk doesn't work for a salary. He only takes a $1 salary and gets paid with bonuses. He owns about 170 million shares outright, and it's gone up about $123 billion in 2020. And in the biggest breach of all time, called Comb, or compilation of many breaches, it's a huge hack that affected 3.2 billion new unique pairs of users and passwords, and emails and passwords as well, which includes nearly 70% of global internet users if each record was a unique person. So make sure to change all your passwords, all of them, email, banks, absolutely everything, because they got a lot. And last but not least, Germany, affected quite a bit by the winter storms that we're having right now. Their renewable energy, they had a plan to be able to shift to 100% renewable energy years ago, to shut down their nuclear plants and carbon plants as well, and coal plants. And the situation with the winter storm that we're having right now, they literally have snow on the solar panels, so there's no way that they can get solar on top of that because of the winter and the overcast skies, and there's literally no wind. So if it wasn't for the actual nuclear and coal-fired plants that they have, they would not have any energy at the moment. It's a somber warning to clean energy enthusiasts due to the fact that in these situations we don't have wind or solar power in these kind of winters, let's say. That's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh, and the last piece of news that just came up on the radar Trump has been acquitted of impeachment charges. There was 57 to, what's the difference between 157, 360, 43. So 57 voted for, 43 voted against, but they needed 67 votes to be able to vote for the impeachment. So now he's been acquitted of that as well. So that's the news for this week, guys. Let me know if you guys have any questions. Don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you next week.